Maybe. I don't mind it.
I've certainly played worse lines this year. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever and wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Joining me for the next hour to talk about the Vancouver Canucks just absolutely nuking their playoff chances last night. Single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty well. Yeah, if you had Yossi, Klingberg, and Ned, you had 120 points right off the bat there. So you could have just fielded the team of who, and you probably would have had a nice cash.
Yeah, John Klingberg went absolutely ham sandwich last night in Montreal, scored 2 goals, had an assist, scored the overtime winner, I believe. You and I talked about the Dallas defensemen, how, you know, we're definitely playing them almost every night because without Miro Heiskanen, it's moved up minutes for Lindell, it's moved up minutes for Hakanpää, et cetera, et cetera. I did not get to any John Klingberg last night, though. Looking back, it made sense to play him, and I'm kind of mad at myself for not having him. You know, obviously it's in retrospect and all that, but it seemed like a good one-off spot, right? Like the top line really hadn't been clicking. Montreal has a bad penalty kill. You know, you could definitely see Klingberg coming through, having that type of game and that type of matchup. So, you know, congrats to anybody that did have him. One of the big games last night was Washington going into Columbus and just beating their brains out 7-2. No one on Washington. I mean, Anthony Mantha had a pretty big game, 2 goals and hit the shot bonus. One of those goals, I believe, Korpisalo kicked into his own net.
It was Mantha was looking up like, how'd that go in? Like,
yeah, that's just kind of the way it goes. But, you know, you and I talked yesterday on the show about Washington and how that second line really hadn't found their footing since Anthony Mantha returned, which I think is, to be fair. Like, these guys are all older players, not old, but older. You know, Mantha got traded there late last year. There's not a ton of history with him and Nicholas Backstrom. If that second line starts to figure it out and can kind of insulate Kuznetsov and Ovechkin, Washington starts to look like a much different team. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Still, the top of the East is loaded. Top of the West is loaded. So, like, I mean, the top of the West doesn't really matter to Washington, but like, if, you know, they can get into these later rounds with 2 lines clicking and a decent third line, then they're much more likely or have a better chance of making some noise. Although I think, you know, as long as the Panthers stay healthy, this is probably knocking some wood their year, but we'll see.
Yeah, they definitely do look like a pretty good team that is just rounding into form. Vegas also pulled out a win last night at home against that Florida team. Florida coming up later on the slate. Vegas is really going through a lot of injuries right now. I don't know if you watched any of that game last night. I didn't catch any of it. I have been watching a fair bit of Vegas just to watch Jack Eichel. They don't look like a good team, and it's hard to blame them. They're basically missing their top line, their top, you know, their second defense pair, their starting goalie. Like, there's way too many injuries here. On the flip side, Florida, like that back-to-back, they really didn't look, I mean, not to say they didn't look great. They got beat by a clearly inferior team. The problem that sometimes we have with Florida is, you know, players moving around, different line changes like during the games and stuff like that. The Florida Panthers, though, they started Spencer Knight last night. That kind of bugged me. It got me. I had a ton of Sergei Bobrovsky, and I think that's something we should probably mention at the top of the show. This is a special weekend in the NHL because of Monday. Monday is NHL trade deadline day. So, you know, not that they were going to trade Sergei Bobrovsky, but you might see some stuff like that in the next few days. Where a goalie will get a start because they want to make sure the other goalie doesn't get hurt because he's going to get traded, or a guy's going to get sat or something like that. There are a few spots like that today that we're going to have to watch out for. What are your overall thoughts on this slate? We have a lot of back-to-backs on here. We have some bad matchups. We have some good matchups. What are your thoughts on this slate, especially given the time of year that we're in right now?
Like yesterday was just a circus large slate. And today we have 6 games, but it is a scene. Like we got the Flyers back to back on the road in Ottawa. Like the Carolina and Caps both played yesterday. They're playing each other. Boston has a ton of injuries. The Flames have a massive total against back-to-back Sabres, but their minutes are a concern. The Ducks are sitting everybody, but they're playing the Panthers who are back-to-back on the road. The Sharks are playing the Avs with like the Sharks played. Did they play yesterday too? Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
no?
yeah, they did.
Yeah, so they're back-to-back. They get the rested Avs who have been in San Jose since like 1993, so they're rested. This slate is just nuts. I generally like slates that are like 5 to 9 games. Like once you get over 10, it's just ridiculous for a single entry. So like from a standpoint of getting down to a single lineup, I think it'll be easier than yesterday. But man, like every single game on this slate has, I guess issues isn't the best word, but that's the word that's coming out of my mouth right now. So each game has their own set of issues.
Yeah, each game definitely has something to watch out for. We will certainly be talking about those one at a time. We will get to those games in just a second. Before we get too much further, just want to say thank you to Yahoo Fantasy. Yahoo is the sponsor of the show, have been our sponsor this entire season. And if you're new to DFS, specifically, if you haven't played over on Yahoo yet, they're giving away some free money for first-time Yahoo players. So the link is below. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, but thanks again to Yahoo for being our sponsor here today. And also, if the chat could, please throw us a thumbs up, click the like button. Those likes help us out. If you can do that, you can also click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Those subscriptions really help us out. They help grow this channel. They keep these shows like this and shows like the NBA Deeper Dive and shows like MMA Live Before Lock. They keep all those shows coming on a regular basis. So please click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and click the notification button to get alerts whenever we do go live on the air. Be sure to check out our free premium tools and data up on the site. We have something for everyone. Well, mostly everyone, almost every day. Today is no exception. We have our NBA player rankings. We have our NHL player projections, and we have our UFC pro plays all up on the site. So whether it's NBA or NHL or UFC tomorrow, we have something up on the site for everybody to enjoy. We're giving away a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum as well. Head on over to the Awesemo podcast channel. That link is below as well. Leave a 5-star review with your Twitter handle or Awesemo username, and you will be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Not a bad little deal there for just leaving a quick review. I've heard people enjoy the podcast version because they can get through it a lot faster, but then you don't get Josh mimicking Frank the Tank. And there's just something a little bit lost when you don't get the video of Josh doing his Frank the Tank impression. But yeah, just head on over to the Awesemo podcast channel, leave a 5-star review, and you'll get a chance to win a free month. All right, let's get to these games, Josh. The first game is Philly with a 3.1 implied goal total. They're going into Ottawa. The Ottawa Senators have a 3.4 implied goal total. This is a game that you and I might call an absolute festival. Philly played last night in Philadelphia, so, cross-border overnight travel. Not a breeze these days. Might get easier here in a couple of weeks with some relaxed restrictions, but for now, it is a travel day for them, back-to-back. Ottawa somewhat rested. This is their third game this week, but they did not play last night. Two big pieces of news here. One, Claude Giroux not playing. They're holding him out in case of injury because he is one of the players that is expected to get traded this weekend. So Claude Giroux is not playing. He was on a line last night with Morgan Frost and Travis Konechny. Not that I do like Travis Konechny. Morgan Frost isn't a guy that I particularly target, but it will change up that line depending what they want to do with it. We'll see. We just won't know until warmups hit. On the Ottawa side, Thomas Chabot broke his hand in the last game. He will be out for the rest of the season. It looks like it likely means Eric Brandstrom up to the top power play. Now, also with Ottawa, they're also I shouldn't say that. There's also the possibility that they hold out a bunch of players here tonight. Because there are some guys that might be getting traded from the Ottawa lineup. I think the most notable one is Nick Paul. He's the second line center right now. There's been reports they're trying to extend him, but they can't come to a contract agreement and all that. So if they can't do it relatively soon, he may not be playing tonight. Nick Paul might be out. Zach Sanford might be out. Chris Tierney might be out. There could be some guys missing from this Ottawa lineup. None of their superstars or anything, but there will be some guys out, plus Thomas Chabot. So, yeah, this game looks like to be an absolute festival ahead of us here, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, and like the problem is the Flyers back-to-back on the road, which means our fan favorite, Senor Fiesta, Martin Jones in that. Like, yeah. Claude Giroux out. Like Claude Giroux at this stage of his career, not like the Claude Giroux he was 5 years ago, but take Claude Giroux out of this Flyers lineup, and you have Morgan Frost, probably the second line center tonight.
If it's not him, it's Derek Brassard.
Well, I mean, Derek Brassard might be the top line center. So, you know, like, yeah, Martin Jones, Derek Brassard, Morgan Frost. And decent ownership on the Ottawa top line. And like Norris Tkachuk, they've been playing 17, 18, 19 minutes recently the past few games, which is a tick up. And I would imagine with these guys out, like I have a hard time, like if they're going to try to trade Nick Paul, he's probably not going to play. We won't know for a little bit, but like you would think like this top line is probably going to see at least 17, 18 minutes tonight. Going into at best Derek Brassard or at best Kevin Hayes. You know what I mean? Like the center depth on the Flyers right now is non-existent. So like I think, you know, like Ottawa won here at, I don't know, 13% is fine. Is it my favorite spot of the night? No. But if you're building like in MME mid-range lines together, I think this is a nice spot where you can do that. They are to see if Colin White is there, and he's only 4K. I like Colin White. You know, he's recently returned from injury. I don't think 2C is a big deal on DraftKings, especially with there's a couple lines that are all wings tonight. Calgary 3, Flyers 2, if it's Farabee, Frost, Konechny. So like it's not a huge deal anyway with the utility spot. So I don't mind throwing Ottawa 1 in the mix. And I see Jake in the chat saying, has Ottawa 3 been touted yet? Who's even gonna be Ottawa 3 if Nick Paul's out? Like you're playing Zach Sanford here, big boy, with Chris Tierney.
Don't slam my man Adam Gaudette like that. Thank you very much.
I didn't say anything bad about my adopted half brother of Alex Fermenton, Adam Gaudette. So like yeah, I don't know. Like Ottawa 1's probably where I would just be at right now. It like if Nick Paul's out, depends who moves up. You know what I mean? Like could Gaudette center that line? Maybe. Is Tierney going to play? We don't know. But we do know the top line is going to be Tkachuk, Norris, White going into a good matchup back-to-back on the road against Martin Jones. So I'm in on Ottawa 1. On the Flyer side, we really just need to see lines here. If it is Van Riemsdyk, Brassard, Atkinson as the top line, I would imagine they see Norris Tkachuk. Now, they're getting double-digit ownership, and that's going to be a no for me. Flyers back-to-back on the road. For me, I would probably go down to some iteration of the second line. You don't have to, if it is Morgan Frost, Farabee, Konechny. I think Farabee, Konechny, two-man is fine. They're not getting too much ownership. They're going to get not the Norris line, and we just don't know the depth of the sense here. And Chabot's out, who's, you know, I don't know how much that's going to help them or hurt them defensively. It's going to hurt them offensively, but like Eric Brandstrom getting over 20 minutes a night instead of Chabot 25 cannot help defensively. So like if you had to go to the Flyers here tonight, and I think like if you're making 100, 150, you don't really want to X out these teams, especially going into the depth of Ottawa here. I think it would be a Farabee, Konechny two-man that I'd be looking at. or even like Kevin Hayes is a one-off, but like I just don't know who he's going to be playing with.
Yeah, I will start with the Flyer side first here. I'm assuming that JVR Brassard Atkinson line is going to stay together. They played yesterday, have been playing for a while. Like, I don't see the sense of like moving Brassard off that line to play with Konechny and then finding another center to go play with them. And then it just seems like moving too many things around, especially coming off a win against a playoff team. What concerns me with the Flyers is like last night was a big game for them. Like now that they're not getting to the playoffs, it was probably the biggest game of the season for them, right? This is their captain. This has been, the core player of this team for over a decade. It was his last game in the lineup. So, back to back, a hard game last night. It was a 5-4 tough tilt, certainly an emotional one. I don't know how to predict letdowns. If we could predict letdown situations, we'd be a lot richer than we are right now. But it just seems like one of those spots for a letdown. Back to back, you're going into Ottawa on a Friday night. Your captain's out of the lineup, expected to get traded, just played his 1,000th game, big game last night. So it's kind of where I am with the Flyers. Like the 3.1 total certainly, draws my attention there. The matchup is really good. It's not like they're getting great ownership. Like that Brassard line is coming in at double their expected top 2 percentage by our top stacks tool. So that is very worrying for me. I'm just going to hold off on the Flyers and see what they look like once warmups hit. Because if we get something like Hayes, Konechny, Farabee, or Atkinson, Hayes, Konechny, or something like that, I might be interested. But if all they're going to do is pretty much keep the same lines and throw Zach McEwen with Travis Konechny or something like that, then I'm just going to be out on the Flyers. So for now, there's not a lot I like on the Philly side. We just don't know what the lineups are going to look like. I certainly don't have any interest in that Brassard, Atkinson, Van Riemsdyk line. Like they just haven't been good together. In fact, in about 80 minutes since Christmas together, Atkinson and James Van Riemsdyk are controlling at about 45% of the scoring chances. So, not very good. I can't imagine Derek Brassard will help. So this is an Ottawa game for me. Colin White on the top line. I just want to mention him briefly because he hasn't played much this year, was injured all year. He's a good player. Like he's not just some fourth. This isn't Zach Sanford being moved up to the top line or something like that. Sorry, Blues fans. He's above average by shot assists, which are passes that lead to shots for his teammates. He's above average by shot rate. He's above average defensively. Like that might not scream great player, but being like good across a lot of different things makes you a good player. So I do like that Ottawa top line here tonight, assuming that, they stay together. Ownership is very reasonable on them too. I think it's a somewhat expensive price that might be keeping that ownership down, but Kachuk and Norris have been pretty good pretty much as long as anybody but Zach Sanford has been on that top line. So I can't imagine Colin White will hurt too much. I do like Ottawa 1 here tonight. Nothing for me from the second line. I do think Nick Paul gets sat and they move up somebody like Chris Tierney or something like that. I'm not playing Chris Tierney, Connor Brown. I'm just not. So I think Ottawa 1 is the only thing I really like in this game. On the blue line, Eric Brandstrom, obviously 2,500, power play 1. Like he might be the highest owned defenseman on the slate here tonight. Just fine using him. I think on the Flyers side, maybe go back to Travis Sanheim, but I think this is a situation where I'd probably look elsewhere for my defenseman than looking through the Flyers. What do you think?
Yeah. Sanheim got a $500 price bump, and that's a little bit too much. But if you're in that range, I think he's fine.
Yeah, there's just not a whole lot on that side. I might even say, I think if the Flyers win this game tonight, it's as much as it feels weird to say, it's probably because Party Marty Jones has a good game, right? So I actually think my favorite Flyer to play in this game might be the goalie in tournaments. We'll talk about goalies a little bit later.
He's a fiesta. You got to consider a fiesta on a Friday night.
Anything could happen at a fiesta. So you got to consider it. Washington, 2.6 implied goal total going into Carolina. Carolina Hurricanes have a 3.4 implied goal total. as you mentioned, Washington, well, we talked about it. Washington played last night. They beat Columbus 7-2. Carolina lost last night. They went into Toronto and lost 3-2. I mentioned this earlier in our Discord chat. Arizona has 5 games in the last 2 weeks, I believe, with at least 5 goals, and Carolina doesn't have one in the last month. It's been a month since the last game where they've scored at least 5 goals. I think 2 things are to blame for that. One is loading up that top line. That top line just hasn't been scoring. Let's face it, since they've been put together, they just haven't been scoring. And 2 is missing Tony DeAngelo. He's very important to that power play. He might be back tonight. They thought he might be back last night, but with this back-to-back, maybe they wanted to hold him out for one game and then, give him one home game before they get out on the road, or before he gets out over the final, 20 games of the season or whatever. So just watch for Tony DeAngelo being in the lineup tonight. I should also mention Carolina moved around. They moved around their wingers last night. Jordan Martinook and Martin Necas went to the top line with Sebastian Aho for the third period, while Teravainen and Svechnikov got moved down to the second line with Vinny Trocheck. That's how they played the entire third period. Obviously, we didn't have morning skate today with them being on a back-to-back. We won't know anything until warm-ups. I don't know exactly how they're going to line up here tonight, but it would make sense to me that they might change up some lines after back-to-back losses and no games with more than 4 goals in a month.
Yeah, and on the cap side, I think Oshie's probably going to be out tonight. He got banged up and left. He's probably a game time decision. I haven't seen any definitive news. We won't know. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Trocheck, Svechnikov, Teravainen together. Aho's played with Necas a bunch. Unfortunately, played with Jordan Martinook a bunch as well. So what do you do here? It's luckily it's an early lock, so we can find out for sure. But Trocheck, Svechnikov, Teravainen would pique my interest a little bit here. I mean, if they keep Svechnikov, Aho, Teravainen together, they're more expensive than Calgary won and Colorado won tonight. So I guess they could be a contrarian option, but they just haven't been that good recently. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Rob the Bod mix it up. And if he does, Trocheck, Svechnikov, Teravainen is $3K cheaper, because Trocheck is $3K cheaper than Aho. So for that $3K and still getting the power play correlation, I think that's the line I would go to. Now, this is all conjecture because we just don't know. So, but if that is the case, I do like that. Don't mind Aho, Necas. You can do whatever you want with Jordan Martinook.
Yeah, not too big on Jordan Martinook. I don't know. What do you think?
No, if it was Jesper Fast, I think I would be fine with that. They're the same price, and Fast can hang with on any line probably. So, but Martinook up there, I'll probably just go to Trocheck, Svechnikov, Teravainen. I just don't love much from this game anyway. But that would be the line. And on the cap side, we have question marks about Oshie. At best, a game time decision. That would if he was out, they'd probably move back up Tom Wilson, or who knows? Could be Connor McMichael, could be Sprong. We just don't know. But Ovechkin's minutes are down. Kuznetsov, It's I'd rather just look elsewhere for their prices.
It's an interesting situation in this game tonight because we do have a 6 total, right? It's not like they're expecting a 2-1 game here or something like that. And there's just not much ownership coming in on Washington, which I find fairly interesting because the stacked Carolina top line that we talk about, they do generate a lot of offense. They haven't been scoring, but they do generate a lot, but they also give up a lot. And that's something we talk about a fair bit. So I see Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, Sheary coming in with positive leverage by our top stacks tool. I think that top line here is fine to use here tonight. I will say I'm not too big on using the Caps on a road back-to-back going into Carolina.
Oh no.
What happened?
Hagel got traded to Tampa Bay.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good pickup for Tampa Bay. That just reminds me of Blake Coleman all over again. So yeah, good for them. Back onto Carolina. Carolina, like both teams here have elite penalty kills. That's one thing that really kind of holds me back here. Both teams, top 5, top 6 by expected goals against over the last 6 weeks. Like they've been really, really good on the penalty kill. Carolina does take a fair share of penalties, but as we talked about, Washington power play just hasn't been able to find itself all season. Like they're not awful, but they're not great. And when you're not a great power play, I don't like your chances against an elite penalty kill. So while I don't mind Washington 1 here tonight, I think I would probably just be more apt to take like a one-off Ovechkin or something like that. Stacking them is just fine. But I think one-off Ovechkin would be somewhere I look in case, Carolina does end up taking way too many penalties. But honestly, yeah, road back-to-back going into Carolina. Carolina, typically a very good defensive team, definitely has a great penalty kill. It just doesn't feel like a good situation to use the Caps. You have to play somebody. There are a lot of road back-to-backs here, so I'm not going to begrudge anybody for playing that top line. I just don't think I would. I think I would rather look elsewhere for that price range. As far as the Carolina lines go, I would be interested in Trocheck, Teravainen, and Svechnikov. Like they probably would all play the power play together. They don't have a large sample together this year, but in all the 2-man samples like Trocheck and Teravainen or Trocheck and Svechnikov or Teravainen and Svechnikov, what have you, they've been pretty good. Like all 53% plus expected goal share. They do generate a fair number of scoring chances. So yeah, I do like that Carolina 2 line if it ends up being Trocheck, Svechnikov, and Teravainen, but we just won't know until warmups. One thing I will say is that if they do stack that top line, Aho, Svech, Teravainen, I don't think I'm going to play them. Like when I look across at different teams, like we'll talk about, like Colorado is going to be fairly highly owned, obviously. But when you look across at different teams, like Boston, we just talked about Ottawa, Calgary 1, we'll talk about later on in the slate. Like I think there are just other teams that I'd rather go to, especially if Tony DeAngelo's out. Like that might change my mind because he is a difference maker on the power play for them. But if he's out, I think I'm out unless they stack Trocheck, Svechnikov, Teravainen on the second line. On the blue line, I guess if Tony D's back, 5,500 on DraftKings is kind of just fine for him. Don't mind that. Martin Fehervary, honestly, is one of my favorite defensemen on this slate. He's playing top pair with John Carlson, 2,800 on DraftKings. He's one of my favorite tournament cheap defensemen here tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, Fehervary in play for me. He's probably not going to get anywhere near the ownership of Brandstrom. Tony D, if he's back, will be in consideration for me as a one-off. That's probably about it. Like Shea and Pesci in the mid-4s now. If Ethan Bear's still on the top line, maybe as a punt, but like if Tony D's back, Ethan Bear won't be there. So
yeah, it does really matter what he does. And then if he's back, all those guys are just way too expensive. Yeah, I agree with that. Get access to all the great Awesemo Plus tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com, including player projections, ownership projections, our top stacks, our lineup builder, and a whole lot more. Of course, if you're only looking to play NHL DFS, then you can sign up for one of our Awesemo Plus weekly packages for as low as $3.95 a week. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and can be easily added on to these packages at checkout, but it is not included in our base package. However, it is a very valuable addition to your DFS arsenal. For those looking to multi-enter contests, be sure to add Fantasy Cruncher as an add-on. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. All right, let's get to this next game, Josh. Boston 3.2 implied goal total going into Winnipeg. The Jets have a 2.9 implied goal total. Changes here too. Obviously, no Patrice Bergeron. I think it was an arm infection, they said. Going to miss at least a couple games. No Patrice Bergeron for the Bruins here tonight. Jack Studnicka, one of their prospects, expected to take the top line role for Patrice Bergeron in this game. Was Tomas Nosek, I think, in their last game. Should be Studnicka here tonight. One thing about Studnicka is that they desperately want him in the lineup. He hasn't been good enough to stay on the third line. So that tells you about, the quality of the player that might be moving up to the top line with Brad Marchand here tonight. On the Winnipeg side, Andrew Kopp is back. He's going to be on the third line. They're leaving Nikolai Ehlers on the second line. So they're leaving, Winnipeg's leaving their loaded top six. I will note two things. One, sometimes they use Andrew Kopp in a shutdown role when Winnipeg's at home. I'm not sure if they're going to do that here tonight, but he should. And two is that I assume the Pasternak Hall line is the one that's going to get the shutdown line. They did get the shutdown minutes in Minnesota. I assume Winnipeg will do the same. So, no Bergeron. Winnipeg gets Andrew Kopp back. Kopp might be going out against Pasternak. What's our flow chart saying here, Josh?
Can I just say, like, flow chart or not, I hate Winnipeg one. I think get that out there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Like, they're coming in at decent ownership tonight. So, like, and their price is decent. So if you want to play them, I think that's fine, honestly. Like, if you want to play them, just, fine. They're just not a great 5-on-5 line. That's the problem I have with them. They're just not good at even strength. So they always seem to do work on the power play. So, if you want to play them, that's fine. My favorite line on Winnipeg is Winnipeg 2. Kyle Connor, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Nikolai Ehlers. Like, the Dubois-Connor combo has been the best for Winnipeg all season long. So I'm in on them. They're not getting extreme ownership either. They're coming in like 9-10%. Not fully correlated, but, Dubois and Connor on the top power play, Ehlers on the second power play. I'm in on Winnipeg 2. You want to play Winnipeg 1, I think that's fine. If you see their ownership coming up during the day, do what you want with them. Like, if they get into, all three of them get into the double digits or close, I'll probably be out on them. It's just what it is. I'll go to the good 5-on-5 line. Now Jake's going to call me Pizza Boy for the rest of the year. Thanks, GH. He also doesn't like me smiling. So with that, I'm a happy guy. Anyway, on the Bruins side, I don't know. Like, that top line I just feel like Jack Studnicka and Jake DeBrusk are up there for showcase purposes. If they were, not trying to trade these guys, you'd probably see a line of like Charlie Coyle, Brad Marchand, David Pasternak or something like that. So, like, it just seems like they're up there to try to showcase them. And I just don't know how that's going to go. So they're cheap enough, I guess, but like Marchand's numbers without Bergeron this season are a mess. So, like, I don't know if I'm going to get to any Boston 1 here. Again, if it's going to be a line, it's going to be Boston 2, but I'm not a huge fan of Hall. Hall hasn't been finishing. It's been his career Achilles heel. I guess if anything, I would want off Pasternak for that power play. And that's about it. It's a 3.2 total on the road. There just isn't much that I like. Maybe like Charlie Coyle, David Pasternak 2-man for some power play or something. But, like, I don't know. If you think you like Marchand, go look at his wowies without Bergeron this season. They are atrocious.
That's the point that I'm glad that you brought up about the Boston side, is that Patrice Bergeron, I think, is arguably having not quite an MVP season, but just a tier below that. And he's definitely having a Selke-worthy season as a two-way forward. Brad Marchand this year has played 100 minutes without Patrice Bergeron as his center. Brad Marchand with anybody but Patrice Bergeron as his center this year, we're looking at 20 scoring chances for per 60 minutes and 34 against, 38% of the scoring chance share. That's just, I can't talk about just how bad that is. That's you're out of the NHL quality. Now, obviously, that's not on Brad Marchand. It's on the fact that he probably has to carry the entire line when Patrice Bergeron isn't there. But that's exactly what's going to happen tonight. He's going to have Jack Studnicka and probably Jake DeBrusk. He's going to have to carry that line. I don't think it's a very good Boston line. I think, like you mentioned, Hall and Pasternak, a good line in theory, like on the ice. But as I've mentioned on multiple shows now with the Bruins, Eric Halla and Taylor Hall are two of the worst finishers in hockey, and that's not conjecture. That's, if you go to hockeyviz.com, it's a wonderful website, wonderful hockey stats website you guys subscribe to. They're just two of the worst finishing impacts in the league. So like they're relying on Brad Marchand and David Pasternak to carry the entire offensive scoring load on each of those two lines. I just think, I know it's a 3.2 total, but I think that losing Bergeron is a pretty big loss and makes Boston effectively a one-line team here tonight. If I was going to do anything with the Bruins, it might be some sort of power play stack. I honestly mean that. And, we'll see what the power play looks like. They're going to probably have power play guys across 3 different lines. So it'd have to be something like, Marchand, Pasternak, Hall, or something like that. But the Jets penalty kill really hasn't been that great, just outside the bottom 10, like neck and neck with Montreal and Arizona over the last 6 weeks. They're also taking a fair share of penalties as well. So I think if you want to play Boston here, you don't play full even strength line. I don't even believe Studnicka is going to play the whole game up there. I think you just play a power play stack. On the Winnipeg side, Winnipeg 1 or 2 for me. It depends how you want to build the rest of your lineup. I don't have a serious preference here. Like Winnipeg 1 has actually started to play a little bit better of late. We're looking at 54% of the shot share, 54% of the expected goals in their last 100 minutes. Like that's actually pretty good for that line. So I don't mind either of the top 2 Winnipeg lines. It depends what you want to do with the rest of your lineup. On the Boston side, it'd be some sort of power play stack or just move on. Maybe Charlie Coyle as a one-off because he's probably going to play over 20 minutes. On the blue line, oh boy. I don't think there's anybody from the Boston side I really want to play. Like Grzelcyk is just priced in no man's land, at least over on DraftKings. Like McAvoy is fine for his price on both sites. I think Josh Morrissey also fine for his price on both sites. Winnipeg does have some punts I'm interested in. Logan Stanley, Brendan Dillon, Dylan DeMello. Any of those guys really stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, Logan Stanley has been pretty good. Jake loves Logan Stanley. He's actually turned me on to Logan Stanley. I just don't know how much Logan Stanley I'm going to have tonight with Eric Brandstrom at bin price. So unless I'm doing a lineup with Hellebuck and I'll just load in a Logan Stanley, Brendan Dillon, or Dylan DeMello, then yeah. I like, for whatever reason, it's always hate Winnipeg 1, love punting D with Connor Hellebuck. Yeah.
I mean, Connor Hellebuck had a pretty good game the last time out, so maybe it can work again here for us tonight. We have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season. We talked about it earlier. Let's talk about it now. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo. Sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you'd like to speed up the process of getting access, email support@awesemo.com. and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below, and that can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's $2,000 NHL Baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. All right, let's get to our next game. Buffalo, 2.3 implied goal total going to Calgary. The Flames have a 4.1 implied goal total. Calgary traded for Calle Jarnkrok. It looks like he's going to be in the lineup tonight. He'll just slide in as the 3C with Tyler Toffoli and Andrew Mangiapane. That means the top 2 lines from Calgary expected to be the same. Buffalo played last night, got their brains beat in by Edmonton 6-1. They didn't change up their lines though, so I assume that the lines they ran last night are the lines they're going to run tonight. I'm going to be honest. Buffalo is basically a one-line team at this moment, it seems to me. The depth really just isn't coming through. Their second and third lines just haven't been great. And when you get a Calgary team that's just rolling like this, it can be a problem. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm getting annihilated in the chat right now. Like, with my smiling. The one thing I'll say, I have the video up on the screen of myself. Smiling is not the problem. The size of my head is the problem. So get creative when you're making fun of me. I have a nice smile. Anyway, getting to Calgary 1. Minutes are a big concern here. They played like 15-16 last game. Yeah, that might be a problem here for a line that's 21-5 on DraftKings. The thing is, like, they can get there easily. They just run everybody over so fast that, like, the reason they only play 15 minutes is because they're up 6-3 going into the third period. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, I kind of still like Calgary 1 and GPPs, despite the minutes concern here, just because we saw, Buffalo get their brains beat in last night. They're probably going to Dustin Tokarski tonight. So, yeah, can Tkachuk get his 3-point bonus in 15 minutes of ice time tonight? Probably. I don't know. Like, I think there'll be a decent pivot off the Colorado 1 chalk. You just have to hope they get there in 15 minutes because that's probably all they're going to be playing tonight. I do like that second line, or the Mangiapane, Yarncroc, Toffoli line. The problem is they're all three wingers here. Kelly on DraftKings anyway. Yarncroc, min price. I think that helps a lot here. Like doing like a Yarncroc Toffoli or Yarncroc Mangiapane. You can stack all three if you're using, Ottawa 1 here. It's one of those lines you can use. So yeah, I like that line here. You want to go to that third line or whatever the Backlund Coleman line is. I was kind of hoping that Cal Yarncroc would have slid into Trevor Lewis's spot. But beggars can't be choosers here. So I'm probably out on that third line. So for me, Calgary 1, if you're not using, an expensive Carolina or expensive Colorado, I do like that Mangiapane, Yarncroc, Toffoli line. And since they left Trevor Lewis there, I think there is an opportunity to go back to Buffalo 1 tonight. And I played them last night, very disappointing, but they're coming in again around 2.5%. They are fully correlated. The Flames are pretty much in the playoffs here. That's why you see these minute reductions. Trevor Lewis on that line has not been good. You know what I mean? Like, they're a worse than average line in terms of expected goals against, scoring chances against, you know what I mean? So I'm okay with going back to Buffalo 1 here, especially in MME at that ownership. Getting above the field won't be too hard. So yeah, just because they burned me and a lot of people yesterday doesn't mean you can't go back to them here. I think they make a good tournament play. Going down the Buffalo side depth here, I like Victor Olofsson maybe as a one-off, but I'd rather just stick to Buffalo 1.
Yeah, nothing from the Buffalo depth. It would be Buffalo 1 I would go back to. The one thing that kind of worries me is that there are some games Calgary's been having where they're just kind of rolling their lines. They're not hard matching that Blake Coleman line against top competition. So, maybe Buffalo does see a fair bit of that Yarncroc line. Maybe Buffalo does see a few shifts against, Lindholm and Gaudreau. That's just kind of what's drawing me away here. And honestly, the ownership isn't as low on Buffalo as I thought it might be. Like, they're half the top 2 percentage. I thought it would be a lot different than that. So I'm still considering Buffalo, but I'm not as excited as I was especially before I heard Yarncroc be in the lineup. If there's one thing he's good at, it's being a reasonable defensive forward. He's going to make that line much better defensively, and they're already good to begin with. So I think I'm out on Buffalo, certainly a 1 to 3. Once you get to your 20 max and above, then it's a consideration. On the Calgary side, it is that Toffoli, Mangiapane, Yarncroc line that I do like. I suspect you're going to get some fairly flat minutes across the forwards, as you mentioned here tonight. So I don't want to pay like 21K plus for Calgary, or, even on FanDuel. FanDuel are 25K. I don't want to pay 25K or 21 plus for a line that might play like 16 minutes here tonight. So it would be Mangiapane, Toffoli, Yarncroc. I like. There are double centers situations that you can play. We talked about one earlier. with Ottawa, with Colin White on the top line. I think, power play stacking Colorado in a later game is something we can talk about. So there are double centers you can get to. So Calgary 2 for me. Calgary Josh stack also definitely in play. Josh stack is when you stack 6 skaters from the same team on DraftKings. I think a Calgary Josh stack on a 6-game slate where, there are a lot of back-to-backs and players missing and stuff like that. I think a Calgary Josh stack is perfectly fine as well. On the blue line, Noah Hannafin still got 21 plus, even though Oliver Shillington was back in the last game. So I do like Hannafin again here tonight. He's expensive though. He's kind of in that no man's land. So honestly, I don't know if there's defensemen I would take out of this game unless I was correlating. What do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think my favorite defenseman on Calgary is Rasmus Anderson. As disgusting as that sounds coming out of my mouth. I was looking at minute allocations. Shillington got there, but he didn't play much. Maybe it's just his first game back from injury, and they're trying to ramp him up slowly. But he didn't get the same minutes Hannafin and Anderson and Tanev did. So probably Rasmus Anderson to correlate here. Or if I had a punt, it'd probably be Eric Goodbranson. Nothing too much on the Buffalo side.
Yeah, I will say at least on the Buffalo side, Joka Haru might play a lot of minutes, so maybe he gets there with block shots on DraftKings or something like that for 2,700. But yeah, that's probably about it. Let's get to Florida within the 3.8 implied goal total going into Anaheim. The Ducks have a 2.6 implied goal total. I'm going to tell everybody right now, this looks to be an absolute mess on the Anaheim side because they're one of the teams that's going to be holding out a lot of players. We already have confirmation that Hampus Lindholm and likely Rickard Rakell will both be held out of the lineup tonight. I think Ryan Getzlaf is still injured, if I'm not mistaken. Max Comtois and Isaac Lundestrom are also 2 guys that might be held out tonight because there is some definite, at least Comtois. There are definite rumors. The NHL national writers think he's going to be on the move. So you could see Getzlaf, Rakell, Comtois, and Hampus Lindholm all out of the lineup for Anaheim here tonight. Florida played last night. It's a road back-to-back for them. 4 and 6 nights on the road too for Florida. But Anaheim looks to be absolutely gutted by their depth. What do you think?
Yeah. Man, this game is no matter what happens, normally I have an idea maybe this will happen, maybe that. Florida 4 and 6 on the road where they don't play as well on the road as they do at home. I'd probably be off them in a normal situation, but with all these guys sitting, if Comtois sits too, their top 6 is a giant mess. So who's going to stop them? They already have a pretty poor penalty kill. All these guys out with guys. So guys shuffling around the lineup, they're probably playing with guys they never played before. They're probably going to take more penalties. So I don't know. I'm kind of inclined to just power play stack the Panthers tonight. Just go Barkov, Huberdeau, Duclair, or, Barkov, Huberdeau, Reinhart, Barkov, Ekblad. Mix and match in the power play guys. The ownership's okay on Florida. Barkov's coming in projected 11% right now. Huberdeau, Duclair coming projected around 6%. I think I'm just going to power play stack and call it a day. If I had to stack a line, it would be that second line again. I'd rather just get in Barkov over Bennett. So power play stack for me. On the Duck side, looking at this ownership, it's kind of crazy because there's just so many question marks. So I don't know. As it stands right now, I had interest in Comtois, Henrique, Terry, but they're coming in at 13%, and we don't know if Comtois is going to play. So who's going to move up there? Daniel O'Regan, Sam Steele, someone we know who isn't good is going to move up there if Comtois is out. So more likely than not, I'm probably out on the Ducks. It's just 10 p.m. Eastern start. Too many question marks to full stack. So the most likely combos you're going to get are Henrique, Terry, and Zegras Milano. So if I had to do anything, it would be 2-man Zegras Milano or Henrique Terry.
Yeah, one thing I will say, at least on the Anaheim side, is Comtois, Henrique, and Terry is actually a good line. They're just coming in with a lot of ownership, right? But the good thing here is Max Comtois is 2,500. So if they do move up a Derek Grant or like you said, a Danny O'Regan or a Sam Carrick or something like that, they're all 2,500. So if you want to just full stack Anaheim too, if Comtois does get sat, there's a reasonably good chance that the guy who replaces him will also be a $2,500 player on DraftKings. So I think you can get away with that. It would be the line I would stack Comtois, Henrique, and Terry. They have been fairly good together in their minutes. 60% of the shot share, controlling 67% of the scoring chances in 60 minutes together. It's just been really, really good. So Comtois, Henrique, Terry, assuming they're together, would be the line I would stack. If you want to just go Henrique, Terry, just for a quick 2-man, no issues there. On the Florida side, it's Florida 2 for me. Florida power play, if you want power play stack, because that Anaheim penalty kill is brutal, that's just fine. But Florida 2, we talk about them all the time, generating 34 scoring chances per 60 minutes. They're going to get depth matchups from Anaheim, and with that, with their depth gutted, there's just nothing there to protect them. So Florida 2, Anaheim 2, the Troy Terry line, I should say, for me in this game. On the blue line, Mackenzie Weegar, his peripherals have started to tick up. Very reasonable price on DraftKings today as well, at 4,800. Like Mackenzie Weegar a lot here tonight. Gustav Forsling as well at 2,700. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree on the Florida side. On the Anaheim side, it's probably going to be Fowler or Shattenkirk. Like, they're going to play a ton of minutes tonight. So either one of those guys are fine. 3,400, 3,500. Not a bad price.
Here at Awesemo, we have an Awesemo Hall of Fame where we like to celebrate all our winners. And if you want to get in the Awesemo Hall of Fame, this is how you do it. You download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. You place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, and then you tweet those wins to the Awesemo Hoff account on Twitter. That's Awesemo HOF. You do all that, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You'll see Carlos Banzo taking down 3rd place Wednesday night in the NBA pick and roll over on FanDuel. Congrats to him. Jesus Figueroa, Iche 420, taking down 2nd place, looks like in that same contest for 1,500. Jacob Pierce splitting 1st, NBA Showdown, took 3,550 as part of his split of 1st place. Dave DeReamer, pick 4 for $1,000, doing well on Prize Picks. Congrats to him. And Jay Fantano as well, another parlay. The betting picks, very, very popular of late. So congrats to those guys. Just send your wins into the Awesemo Hoff account on Twitter, and you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Coming up after us, we have the Locks Before Lock, 4:15 Eastern. That's the NBA prop betting show with Greg and Savoca, and they're followed by the NBA double dose of the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock. All right, Josh, let's get to this last game. Colorado, 3.9 implied goal total. Going into San Jose, the Sharks have a 2.5 implied goal total. As I mentioned earlier, Colorado looks like they're probably going to be the highest owned stack on the night. They have the top 2 projected highest owned stacks by our top 2 stacks tool. But on the flip side, man, San Jose is just awful. We were talking earlier in our Discord, like, even lines with Timo Meier on it are just falling flat on their face. This team is falling apart. There's a lot of ownership here, but I really do like the Avs. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And just real quick, here's the full trade. Brandon Hagel to the Bolts. Brandon Hagel and 2 fourths. To the Hawks, 2 first-round picks, Taylor Radish and Boris Kachuk.
2 late firsts and a couple depth.
It's underwhelming for what he's their new Blake Coleman.
Yeah. Anyways.
A young Blake Coleman. He's 23 years old on a good contract. Yeah, I'm in on Colorado 1 here. They're going to be the highest owned stack of the night. It's no question. They haven't been great together in the Shushkin up there, but this is a depleted Sharks team. I don't know. Those numbers, I was definitely considering the Avs before you sent me those numbers. The Couture Meyer numbers are just brutal the past month and a half. So yeah, Colorado 1 for me. Colorado 2's okay, but New Hook being they're cheap. And I think that's what it is, getting depth of the San Jose, which is just miserable. So yeah, I could see going to Colorado 2 here, but I don't know. I don't think New Hook's completely ready for a top 6 role yet. So if anything, I would just add in Kadri or go Kadri Burakovsky. So I don't know. This is Colorado 1, Colorado power play for me. That's an expensive route if you want to take it. On the San Jose side, maybe something on the blue line. I don't know.
Yeah. Like typically I wouldn't mind San Jose 1 here tonight. Like that Colorado top line is giving up a lot of chances against. That's one of their big weaknesses is that top line is giving up chances. So if some people want to play that San Jose top line, I'm not going to say no.
Jake.
But in the last 80 minutes, Logan Couture and Timo Meier have played together. 41% of the shot share, 46% of the expected goals, 3.1 expected goals against per 60 minutes. They've just been bad. And that's going to be going into that Colorado 1 line here tonight. Anything can happen on a single night of hockey. So if you want to play San Jose 1, they have good leverage. There's, they are playable. It's just everything except for San Jose's penalty kill is just completely fallen off the map. And James Reimer played last night. So they're going to that Sawchenko kid likely here tonight. So yeah, I think I like Colorado power play. I'm with you. Colorado 1, Colorado power play stack would be the way I would handle this game. Nothing for me on the San Jose side. Like I said, if you want to play San Jose 1, not a problem. That's probably where I would stop, though. I wouldn't go any deeper than that. On the blue line, always play Devin Taves. He is getting somewhat expensive at 5,800, but I do like him at that price. On the San Jose side, if you need some blocks over on DraftKings, I think Jacob Middleton's the guy. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, it's Middleton, or I guess if you're using San Jose 1, you can correlate one of the more expensive guys, but it's probably Middleton for me. If you're power play stacking the Avs, I don't even know if it's possible. I didn't check, but like Makar 7,400 is really expensive. If you can't get to him, Taze, maybe a Josh Manson punt, but that's about it.
So what you're saying is Colorado power play is Ottawa 3 tonight? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, Jake's definitely doing that. Like it's confirmed.
Yeah, probably. I am not doing that. We are not recommending Ottawa 3 here tonight, but we are getting to the end of the show. Josh, we got to get out of here. Before we do, I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies here tonight. My hat trick pick, kind of chalky, but I'm going with it. Valeri Nichushkin from Colorado, and my goalies are Connor Hellebuck from Winnipeg and Anton Forsberg from Ottawa. Who you got?
Yeah, I like those two goalies. Those are the two I wrote down. If you have to spend up, I think it would probably just be for Markstrom. Like it, I don't know, safe, quote unquote, feels that way. Or Bob, because the Ducks are depleted. But like, I just worry about shot volume there. I think Martin Jones is a spicy GPP play. And my hat trick pick is going to be Colin White.
Wow, I like that. All right, Colin White, Valeri Nichushkin are your hat trick picks for tonight. All right, we are out of here. We will be back tomorrow. I forgot to check what time it is. I think it's at 11 Eastern tomorrow, but we will be back tomorrow with our Saturday show. So until then, for producer Mike, for a single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris, I'm Michael Clifford saying good luck tonight, everybody.